Okay, welcome back as we are just moving on and keeping things going. It's game number 5, day number 2 of the 2025 U18 Senior Atlantic Rugby Championships here on Maritime Athletic Profiles. We've got Nova Scotia U18. They're going to be in the gray and navy jerseys, taking on Team New Brunswick in the black jerseys. U18 Isla David with a solid game this morning in the Nova Scotia win. And the first one here for U19 New Brunswick women for day 2 of the game. So 45-minute halves is what we play, so a little bit of a shorter game. Dawson Legier, the referee. Last time we looked, the temperature was 24 degrees, humid index of 28, possible showers, but it's a very small chance, about 30% from here this afternoon, as Feedy has difficulty with handling that. Stella Feedy trying to get up to her 22. A swing over, Sophia Black. Brought down by Katie Bauer with the release. Nova Scotia first time getting up to their 10-meter mark on the side of the pitch. Stella Feedy. And the swing over here, and Amy Gunn back in here for we're into a minute and a half and 50-50 play so far. Laurence Corbier, ball handler there for Team New Brunswick. Madeline Landry, solid game yesterday for her for Team New Brunswick as they're midway between the 10 and the 22. Katie Bauer. Tough yardage for her. Colin Zhu out there as well for New Brunswick. New Brunswick called for a penalty. Sydney Thompson to have to kick in to touch for the line out just past the 10-meter. Nova Scotia on the drive here. So first little lineouts here for this match. Little different fake in a formation, is up for it was Kaveni for U18, is blown down. There'll be a scrum there just right exactly at the 10-meter mark at the Nova Scotia 10-meter. Referee Mike at this time unavailable here for this matchup. We'll try to have it here throughout the rest of the championships, but we'll try to decipher here from up at our broadcast booth here at King's Edge Hill School. Brunswick. Got numbers here, got some speed going down the sideline. A little bit of a juggling act just inside the Nova Scotia 10. There for New Brunswick. Stop that one out. Bauer. Haley Trenham. And she stopped there midway. Back out. Bauer. Adriana Platy. Bauer again. Back out. Allison LeBlanc turns on the Jets inside the Nova Scotia 22. Brunswick get their first sustained pressure here of this match, just past the 5-minute mark. Evgeny Shafransky. She can be tough to be brought down there for Team New Brunswick. Number 1 in the black jersey. 4 potential targets here for New Brunswick to pass along a sideline, but they're stopped midway. Back out, pass behind Bolin. We call it for the knock on. So Nova Scotia bending but not breaking right now. Brunswick had 2 games yesterday, so it's Nova Scotia that has 2 today. 45-minute half, so it's a shorter game, so really important here to strike and get points early, and New Brunswick has first opportunity to do that. A scrub just inside the Nova Scotia 22. Amy Gunn. Quick handoff there. Demings just past the 22. Difficulty for the pass there. It was way up there for Kaveni. So New Brunswick just outside the Nova Scotia 22. Kind of like the composure here from New Brunswick in the meantime. Out comes Lily Garreau. And also coming out here is Sully. It looks to me that New Brunswick is going to try to kick a field goal from just outside the 22 to put some points on the board. Thinking that it's going to be a tough contest, so that's the case in point. Eve Gallant here from 24 meters. And splits the uprights as New Brunswick takes a 3-0 lead. Well, that was a no-doubter, and you have a lot of confidence there in your kicker, and she made no mistake as she puts it downtown. As we take a look at some of the action so far, Nova Scotia mostly been defending here, so for the first 8 minutes here. A good run there by Ava Demings. It's Shafransky. Could play a little bit of a factor here in this one. Restart back underway. Tackle just shy of the New Brunswick 22. The swing over by Lawrence Cormier. And tough yardage there for Haley Trenham. Play bowed down. Penalty back 10 for Team Nova Scotia U18. Dawson LeBlanc, the referee for this one. And into touch and into some of the concession stands here at Kings Edge Hill. Alexa Brazeau to throw this in here for Team New Brunswick. And there's something going with Lawrence Cormier here, just shy. Nova Scotia showing the team bench, showing some noise, making some noise for their ladies. Tough play, making New Brunswick have to fight just to get to the Nova Scotia 10. Happy to be joined here by Matt Melanson. As I said, you've been doing a lot of duty, so glad to could come aboard here if this was. You got the U18 of Nova Scotia, U19 of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia's second game of the day. So New Brunswick, they had their 2 yesterday, so it's see who it benefits there and who's the fresher of the 2 teams.
Yeah, some skillful play off that line out. Some possession maintained. You need those, 2 or 3 possessions after the line out to really feel settled. It's a great carry by Sid.
Thompson. Looking for some help. Feeney's in the neighborhood, but have other options.
Yeah, Sophia Black got the knee down and the release didn't come, so penalty there to Nova Scotia.
And quickly, Sophia Black up and going for the U18s. Demings with a little difficulty there for Nova Scotia.
It was always backwards, though.
Yep. Still with possession. Nova Scotia with sort of their best strong possession here.
If they look back right, they'll find some space.
DeRozier. Tough hit. New Brunswick penalty. Back 10 they go.
See that arm going up over the shoulder is not going to paint a good picture for the referee, so the high tackle comes. See how Nova Scotia choose to attack here. And they've got kick straight through the in goal. We'll come back up to where the ball was kicked.
Get you caught up, because I know you've been doing a lot of things, making sure everybody has what they want. New Brunswick's on the board with a field goal from 24 meters out to make it 3-0. So you know that it could be that points are up for grabs. So it's taken an old adage there from, of course, the football where they wear the pads, that if you have a chance to get points, they're going to put points on the board.
Yeah, you're applying scoreboard pressure certainly, and the short game, if they can. Go weather a little storm here in their own end. Those points will add up, especially if the tries are scored out wide, and a few penalties can really add up and make the difference.
Kicked blocked by Deja Hooper-Dixon for Nova Scotia. Scrub to come. Near to New Brunswick 22 for Nova Scotia. Trailing by 3. Coming up to 14 minutes. Delafini. Nice little handoff. Swing, Sophia Black. As Nova Scotia try to get to that sideline, there is Sophia Black. Brought down inside the 22. Something brewing here for Nova Scotia. Looks to be McGrath looked to be a little slightly shaken up here for Nova Scotia, but she seems to be back into the play again. Oh, the turf monster was unlucky that time as it was footing there.
Yeah, Sydney fell over. Hopefully, you're just a stumble.
Delafini. The ball carrier.
Here comes Stella. So
yep,
that last
was a
one
little
must
bit
have
of stiff
Sierra.
arms there. Sydney Thompson.
Nice ball movement.
Deja Hooper-Dixon. Can she get it in? Deja Hooper-Dixon.
The big red in-goal area really shows the visual nice of where they've got to get to.
Seems like such a short distance, but very hard to get there.
Yeah.
They may have something brewing here. They do. Try time here for Sierra Phillips and Team Nova Scotia.
Yeah, that was well worked by the Celtics when you can get Sierra into a little half gap where somebody's not lined up perfectly on top of her. She's going to make some space here. So Stella draws that attention, and nobody's able to square up Sierra, and she's able to drag them in.
Nova Scotia with their first lead of the afternoon. Ball placed outside of the sticks here. From 17 meters out. Sydney Thompson here trying to increase it to a 4-point lead. Flag up. It's good. So 7-3. The 17-minute mark. So just about 6 and change left here in the half. And you got to like the response from Nova Scotia. They had that field goal there for New Brunswick. And Nova Scotia, a couple of tries to come down the field, and successful that time, and they came away with some points. As we watch the action that has happened so far. Ball possession practically been like 50-50, so this has the potential to be a very entertaining. So,
yeah, and some of these highlights are seeing some good ball movement in those clips from Nova Scotia, and here's the nice contest to the lineup. But yeah, some people showing some slick skills. I think that from Stella Sierra, it's a nice interplay to create the try.
Right now we are into like the little bit of a water break here for the teams as the sun has come out.
Unconventional water break. 16 minutes into a 23-minute half, but if the referees have judged the teams get a water break, the teams get a water break.
Yep. And it's mostly like a ref's discretion. There's nothing like a real rule book. It's just like whatever they feel like the temperature is.
Yeah, there's some excessive
players.
There's some excessive heat guidelines and points where that comes into play. We're not there yet, and yeah, just at the referee's discretion.
Now I've talked to.
Yeah, there's a pizza coming. People went to pick it up already. Is there really?
from?
Jesse's.
Is there pineapple on it?
I said dietary restrictions. You should have said, I'm a weirdo. I have a dietary restriction.
I want pineapple.
Yeah, that's a restriction, and I would have met it. If nobody said vegetarian, we're not getting any vegetarians. We're not being left with 80% of a vegetarian pizza. You always are. You order pizza for people.
One vegetarian, then eat meat.
Yeah. Or one vegetarian with one slice.
As I was about to ask you, you're a heavy man in demand here. I was about to ask you, like when you play the sport of soccer, there's like a sort of like a temperature that would get you sort of that water break, and I'm sure that it's probably the same sort of temperatures here for rugby as well, in terms of getting like that break.
Yeah, once you're getting the feel likes above the 30, there's a formula from World Rugby for the official number, and involving some humidity factors. But we once we're hitting feels likes of 30, we're all on high alert for the water breaks. But they've become more and more popular. Rugby's made some moves to try and stop a lot of smaller delays, and a sort of concession of that was to more frequently give teams the regular 20-minute water break, so they're not physios aren't sneaking water on every 5 minutes.
Yeah, and once again, New Brunswick going to opt to try to get 3 off the foot of Eve Gallant. This time it's inside the 22. Line drive and through the middle, 7-6. Well, it's working out. They've gotten 2 field goals, and it's only a 1-point lead for Team Nova Scotia. So,
yeah, I say without having scored a try, they're only 1 point down of a converted try. So, yeah, the scoreboard pressure and the consistently coming away with points when you're in enemy territory, it's a great strategy.
And it seems like they can really trust the foot of Eve Gallant, knowing that she could really boot it.
Yeah.
As I said, the first one was outside of the 22. That one inside. Right down Main Street both times there. Haley Trenham. Corbier.
And if they're comfortable with their ability to maintain possession off the kickoff and come back down and attack again, then it's not even the same as football where you'd be giving away possession. You could just get right back, foot in the gas, and get some points.
Quick short handoff. Shafransky once again. Once again, New Brunswick pressing near the 22 of Team Nova Scotia. Shafransky brings her player down. Nova Scotia with the steal. Nova Scotia with the penalty. Shafransky bobbles and bubbles and knocks over Neil McClare. A penalty to Nova Scotia, then a penalty to New Brunswick. And into touch. I'm going to ask you, how's the hand still? If ever a ball comes up here in the broadcast booth, do you have me covered?
I think I would. The hands, I say, the last thing to go. If we had to do anything involving fitness or tackling, I'm probably out. But the hands, I think, are still there.
I feel safe now.
So a well-won turnover by Sierra Phillips. Strong body position. She's able to get in a good spot over the ball. When your front row forwards can contest over the ball, it really helps your defense overall.
Sophia Black with the throw in, a tip off of New Brunswick fingers, but possession Feeney and U18 Nova Scotia. Feeney brings it outside the 22. Swing over by Gunn, kicked up field there by Sydney Thompson.
That's a great decision to find grass, and
Bolin back there in between midfield stripe and
when you're
22.
getting that many bounces, it was a great spot to find some territory. Let's see if Nova Scotia can get that off the turf.
New Brunswick says anything you could do, I could do better. They'll kick it down. Tackle brought down midway between the 10 and the 22 on that far sideline. And the knock-on as the pass was a little bit low there for Sophia Black, and so she'll be called for the knock-on. Scrum just inches away from the 22.
I think fair to say more kicking in this competition there has been in years past as the
That's
level.
a really good point. Is you haven't seen a lot of, like, usually when people are carrying the ball, they're just trying to keep it. But we've seen every once in a while they're just kicked down the field.
It was certainly in years past sort of a step that in Atlantic that was missing from our game. But as the overall skill level increases, as the defense increases, sort of the need to kick a bit more and unlock the defense comes along.
Sophia Black on the tap and go for Nova Scotia up to their 10.
Diagnosed well by the New Brunswick defense there. I think lucky to get away without a bigger hit.
Gowdry, who's got the feet here, amazing track athlete.
Yeah, and Isla David did well there to have a little bit of interplay between Isla and Kate and still keep the ball in play. Some good work very close to the sideline by both players.
Shafransky.
Still is happy to go quick.
Feedy going, getting the encouragement from Herbedge. Near to the Brunswick 10-meter. And New Brunswick getting into a little bit of penalty trouble, so they'll have to back 10.
Yeah, I think we teach players that you need to be dominating collisions and kind of going for those turnovers when they reveal themselves to you. Sometimes if you force the issue, you're pressing for turnovers too hard, you end up going offside, going off your feet, showing the referee bad pictures.
Line out upcoming here. Into some extra time. It's this 45-minute games. Boy, they go by pretty quick. Like, I know we're almost halfway there, but we're into injury time and a 1-point game.
Yeah, and as you say, with 2 penalty kicks, they've almost erased a try. So being able to come away with 6 points from your trips down to the opposition end is a good day if the half were to stay like this.
Could be looking at the last chance here in this first half belonging to Team Nova Scotia. New Brunswick pushing it up, and New Brunswick bench getting vocal on it. DeRozier. Thompson. Caught there by Bolin. Bolin trying to get upfield, trying to make something here. Bolin, 4 would-be tacklers brought down just inside the midfield stripe. Trenham. Tough yardage there. Try to get it towards the Team Nova Scotia 10-meter. A little bit of a fake feedy with the tackle. And whistle stops play. And this could be the potential final play here of this first half. Tap and go. And kicked into touch, and that's how this first half comes to an end. A try for Nova Scotia, 2 penalty kicks for New Brunswick. Hevis, 1-point deficit there for New Brunswick, trailing 7-6 to Nova Scotia. And we will be back with more here from Windsor on the grounds of King's Edge Hill School in beautiful Windsor, Nova Scotia. This is the 2025 U19 Senior Atlantic Rugby Championships here on Maritime Athletic Profiles. teams have returned to the pitch here at Kings Edge Hill Field.
These are on Noel.
As we're getting close to the second half of Nova Scotia U18 and New Brunswick U19, with Nova Scotia up by 1. As the teams are set to get back underway, reset going to be kicked off here by Nova Scotia. And second half underway.
It's his teacher voice.
Bounced the
He does the same thing like
10 meters, so
like
won't be a scrub at midfield, but enough to
alright.
scrub just inside the 10.
This is big bellowing call.
I'll line out my apologies of that.
How are you doing that? Oh, that's very exciting.
So New Brunswick to inbound here. Going up after it is Darcy McGrath. New Brunswick has it near the Nova Scotia 10.
Kenzie Kitchener, head coach of Kings Edge Hill School, female senior team, the high school winners of the 2025 Western Division and Provincial Championships. I think you said runner-up or she was
That was the year before, yeah.
So you read that? All right. Flanker for Nova Scotia also on the senior women's team.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it have been usually when I do this, I usually don't have a statistician with me, so my statistician is myself. So every once in a while, the statistician that I have makes a mistake because, well, I'm old. So the memory's not as good as it used to be. So, with that, this is the first correction of these championships. Maybe the first, maybe the last. We'll have to wait and see. Just a thank you to Kenzie Cicchetto, the head coach of Kings Edge Hill School. She is, of course, the female senior here with the team, and they won the Western Division as well as the provincial championship. So
Therefore, that means that they have won 3 of the last 4 provincial championships. The two back-to-back championships. One they won in their backyard on this very field. The other one they won at North Nova. Remember talking to Rory Campbell after the game on that one a few years back. So, and then Horton had that year last year, but winning 3 provincial championships out of 4, that's a pretty good run. Congratulations, Kenzie. So.
That's a wonderful memory to have Rory. That's great. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
So sometimes the statistician or the in-ear statistician needs a correction every once in a while.
Great leg drive by Isla there off the back of that scrum.
So we've returned here to the second half, and it's been seeing a lot of fast play in that first half, but things sort of slowing down, and 7-6 lead for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, everybody right after the break, everything's a little steadier. Once the play starts to wear on and the gaps start to get a little bit bigger, I'm sure things will open up again.
Corbier quickly to Bauer. Thompson with the tackle for Team Nova Scotia along that far sideline. Chisholm Trenham, my apologies. Back to the swing. Yulden. LeBlanc. Razzo looking for it there for New Brunswick. It has it with a stiff arm there to David. Back on the swing out, Bauer. Shafransky was soft. Solid take here for New Brunswick. Being backed. Stiff arm, Platy. And out of bounds.
Maybe don't take it in the right in the ref room. It's
Into touch.
the, like, front area. Sure.
Line out to come. Beautiful shot there, field level. As you see a very good crowd on hand right along the track on the near side. Even impressive crowd over there right across from our broadcast location with some of the umbrellas, tents, you name it. You must be happy with the attendance here so far at the championships.
Yeah, I think it's been a strong day, and for two work days, I think we'll be excited to see how the sort of showpiece games go in the evening and through the weekend. Got the Windsor Spitfire setting up a remote location here, so hopefully the crowd are enjoying responsibly, but enjoying. A bit of an unconventional kick.
Bolin tried to keep that in, but unsuccessful, so into touch it goes. There's Nova Scotia marching down here with a 1-point lead, looking to try to add to it. Just across the midfield stripe. Up close and personal with Sophia Black as she will throw this in. Brought down by Willis Glasgow. Had an impressive game earlier today. Explosive, but hasn't really had a lot of opportunities for touches and haven't had a chance to see her speed in this match between New Brunswick.
Oh, a little stumble there, and I think Sierra's. Oh, I think the steal was fine, but we were playing. Got a knock on there before.
Feeney, Shafransky geared up for this scrub just inside the midfield stripe.
Just some fantastic games so far this tournament, where they're, tied or within, 1 to 4 points for big long stretches. It's made for an exciting tournament so far.
Well, you talked about the development of the sport in previous broadcasts. We may have a little bit of a different audience of the fundamentals. Like in the past, like I can remember calling championships. The last one I called Atlantic Championship was back in Truro a few years back, and there were a lot of blowouts in that, and we haven't seen a lot, as you were saying, a lot of close competitive games. So it talks about the development and the improvements being made for the game across the country.
Yeah, across the region, and the standard of the teams is higher, and the individual players. I think the shift in, when they were together, both divisions, but yeah, especially bumping up from under 18 to under 19 really lends itself to a higher skill level. But overall, even this team that's comprised entirely of under 18 players, I think we saw plenty of fine athletes and players that went on to higher level rugby out of this competition. But I think now the standard of the actual game is much higher.
Bauer. Nova Scotia U18 tackling pretty good because Landry had a chance, but a big hit. Shafransky has been able to get some extra yardage, so Nova Scotia penalized. Back 10. Checking in is Maddie Carpenter for Evgeny Shafransky.
I only know that because I know Maddie Carpenter, and that is not Maddie Carpenter. So we will blame the
Latest roster that we
yeah.
have had before given to us before
Yeah.
game time. So there may be some number changes. So
yeah, we do. Yeah, apologies to Maddie. It's a well-won line-out, athletic move to only get a hand on it lightly.
Well, Blah. Bolid. A little bit of open real estate, but the door shut quickly by Nova Scotia U18's Bauer. Pressing. Inside the 22. Corbier. Looking to make another lead change here in this one, coming up to the 34th minute. They try to come into the middle. Ati. Tough sledding there as she gets the return pass. Platy.
Darcy McGrath in there with a strong steal.
And tough yardage, being hard to bring down to the ground there. And we have looks to be an injury here to Team New Brunswick. A shot of this Nova Scotia team. So we look at some of the action that has happened so far. Phelps with the lone try so far in this one. With the handoff there from Feedy, so that's how Nova Scotia has their 7 on the board. 5, and of course the conversion to make it 7, and just 2 penalty kicks here for U19 New Brunswick. So it's just like one of the games we did earlier today, where there was a lot of action, but there might not have been a lot of points, and that's the case in point. And
Yeah, I think it's quality rugby. The standard of tackling is up to it, and the defense is or organized. And just because there's good players all over the field doesn't mean necessarily it's going to lead to an excessive amount of scoring.
So we're going to allow you to take a look at some of the replays here, so we'll step aside while they attend, and we'll be back with more action in just a couple seconds. And we're back here. One of the things that we knew that was sort of a bit of a serious injury here for Team New Brunswick, because before the play was even whistled down, she was getting some help there from the New Brunswick bench. So automatically went there to the medical tent to get attention.
And they're playing aggressive. They're looking for the try. Some of our coaches on the stairs here in the VIP section were musing about whether the New Brunswick would like to go for points there. And speaking of the VIP section, it wouldn't be complete without local legend Sam Lake, one of the great players in the last 10 years in Nova Scotia.
Basically a who's who section. Yes. And this is what we've seen earlier with Willis Glasgow.
Just one left. That's a fantastic result from that area of the field, almost inside their own 10. And
that was almost like a carbon copy of what they did earlier today. Anytime they took advantage of the opposition's penalty and they just tapped and go, and she was off to the races again. So
here it is again. Quick tap, from inside the 18-yard box, and a few stiff arms. Even with the turnover, it's still a fantastic result. Would have loved to keep possession, but you're still happy to be this much further away.
Yeah, with Brown, Nisha, Willis, Glasgow, sort of like 1-2 by. It's, it's 1, 2, 3 is what the letters are, but 1-2 by. Speaking of her, up there once again. Back outside, there you go.
Sierra does still have a nice connection.
As the lone try in this one. Smolders inside the New Brunswick 22. Once again, Phillips. Getting some tough mileage here for the U18 Nova Scotias. They swing it around. Demings. The quick hand.
Great offload from Sophia. New Brunswick were coming up and putting up some pressure in the midfield, but not sustained enough.
Deja Hooper-Dixon. And puts it down. The Citadel Phoenix grad with the try. 5-4 Nova Scotia.
With I'm sure the kicker will take every second they're offered, and we'll just need to complete the conversion and the kickoff and probably one or two more phases, and we'll be looking at the end of a close game here. This kick would deny New Brunswick the losing bonus points, or maybe some standings implications here. The 4 try won't be in reach for Nova Scotia, so keeping all the bonus points off the board for anybody you play against is always useful.
A chip shot down Main Street for Thompson. Makes it 14-6. And what that does too, Matt, as we look at the Nova Scotia bench, is that we'd seen earlier that New Brunswick was happy just to, take advantage of the penalty kicks and get some points on the board. Is now that sort of to try to get back into it, that's been taken right off the plate here for them. So it's adjustment time here for Team New Brunswick.
Yeah, I mean they would always have been interested in try scoring, and those points in the bank early certainly helpful. I mean, before that conversion kick, it meant that even scoring one try could put them back in the lead. But now they'll be in safety mode. Just string together a few phases, maintain possession, don't go into touch.
Just past 39 minutes gone, so 6 to go.
It's a nice width in the attack. They were able to get there quickly.
Now, usually in sports, when you have 2 games in a day, you're happy to get a split. Nova Scotia's looking at winning both of theirs on their hardest day, so that's
Is this
quite an
Maggie?
accomplishment.
Maggie Hellier, I think. Looks like her movements.
Pressing DeRozier for Nova Scotia.
That was a good job by Finley to hang on to that. That was a nice delay in the offload from Amy. Saw some defensive pressure. Held on to it for an extra half second. I think Nova Scotia would likely have done nearly enough here if they can get themselves settled.
Well, it's Glasgow just up there trying to push her teammate with the ball. Just past it, about the 22. Hooper Dixon. They got something brewing. They're going to add some shorts to get it down. Try time once again here for Team Nova Scotia.
Some good
So
ball
they made
movement.
sorry,
Good
go
ball
ahead.
movement, and Cal is able to dot that down, and you'd think that's going to be enough on Dawson's watch.
It's kind of amazing is that it could in sports in general you have a time where in baseball it's just 1 inning, or sometimes a quarter in football, in basketball as well, and this it was just almost like pretty much like the last 10 minutes for New Brunswick. They were in it, and then it just quick strikes here by Nova Scotia just to get a little bit of gap. It's awarded from distance. Not the easiest of kicks, but extra 2 on the board.
Dawson says we've got a few minutes left to go. Yeah, that was a fantastic shot by Sydney.
So 21-6 with the restart here. And it didn't start off very easy for Team Nova Scotia. They had to face their provincial counterparts, the U19s, and got down early but fought back. And then since then, they have just seemed to, kicked it up a notch and have put it into another gear. And a completely different looking team compared to what they were in that first game. And, there must have been a little bit of nerves.
Yeah, and I think, that first team, if there were to be odds and favorites, you take the oldest Nova Scotia team. I think they've won this or been in finals and won not every year, but many years. Some years it's Nova Scotia against Nova Scotia in the final. So, the oldest of the Nova Scotia teams would be, I think, one of the favorites going in.
Pass hits the turf.
They feast from Deja.
Gabby Shaw along that far sideline. Brought down just shy of the New Brunswick 10. Right into the midfield. There's Nova Scotia killing some clock here. Willis Glasgow. And the knock on is Nova Scotia. They had some speed and numbers here on the outside, but unable to connect on the pass called for the knock on. Scrum just right around the 10 of New Brunswick. Unofficially under a minute to go in this one. And a double-digit lead for Nova Scotia. Looking potentially here as the final scrum possibly
between U18, Nova Scotia, U19, New Brunswick. And LeBlanc not happy with the way they were lined, so we'll get a reset. And you didn't. Brunswick have a good solid push, but a knock on is difficulty there for Gillis to handle. Into extra time. See what Dossel LeBlanc decides to put on this clock for extra time.
Hearing some calls of 30 seconds from the players on the field. So
I said before that was for the final scrub. This will
yeah.
definitely.
And so we'll take our chances to thank our sponsors one more time. Party Ice and King's Edgehill and Blue Nose Rugby and Gary Parker Excavating as Lucy Van Berkel gets the ball into touch.
And kicked into touch. And that will end it. Nova Scotia U18 on their tough day where they had came away with 2 victories to bring their record to 2-1. And a 21-6 victory over New Brunswick. So in just a couple moments, we'll talk to Sierra Phillips. And we'll have that in just a couple of moments to wrap up our coverage for the afternoon with more coming this evening. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with more here from Windsor on Maritime Athletic Profiles YouTube. Ready? All right, we're back here in Windsor at King's Edgehill, and we have Sierra Phillips here. She had what would eventually turn out to be the game-winning try here for Nova Scotia. Tell us about the play, how you scored.
I set up as a pod as lead, and then I offloaded it to one of my players. They took it and crashed it, and then I set it for another, and then I got the tip ball from Stella Feeney, and then I just went in and dove for it and scored it.
Now, this was the day that you guys had 2 games today. Now, you probably set the goal of maybe going 1-1, but to go 2-0, you must be pretty ecstatic about that.
It was really exciting. We definitely came out this morning fired up, ready to go, and we just told ourselves to keep us fired up and bring it to this second game, which was amazing, and that's what we did. So.
Now, your first game, the first 10 minutes there against your provincial counterparts, Team Nova Scotia, U19, looked a little sluggish. That said, you guys been cooking with gas. What have you guys done to turn that around for this championship so far?
I think we've communicated really well. That's definitely one of our work-ons since our first game. We've communicated to our forwards and backs and to our team just to make sure where we're at, so we have that connection on the field, so we know where we're at.
One of the questions I've been asking a lot of the athletes here at the championships: how did you get involved with the sport of rugby?
Well, long story, but I'll make it short, is my grade 9 geography teacher was just like, hey, you look like a great rugby player, you should come out. I tried it grade 9 and I'm in love with it ever since.
Yeah. So future goals, where do you see yourself? Maybe eventually being a coach someday, or do you see yourself maybe even being official?
I'm trying. I'm going to Acadia University and I'm studying kinesiology, so hopefully I get to come back and work with sports teams. So.
And maybe even have a long career, because
know.
there's a couple of players from Newfoundland that are playing right up close to their 50s that are
Yeah.
here at the championship with senior men. So maybe that's in the goal possibility
Yes,
too.
that's definitely a possibility.
All right, so take it to Acadia. So how's things going? How's the course going? What's what do you like about it?
Well, I actually just graduated, so I'm going into Acadia.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, so I'm really excited. I start in September, so it's my first year. I'm excited to get to know a bunch of people. So
where are you originally from? Are you getting some heckles here from the area here? So that's a tough crowd there.
Yeah.
So tell us about where you come from. Like, you're from the area?
I am from the area. I'm from Brooklyn, so 15 minutes away. It's a close drive I actually go to school here, so.
Beautiful Brooklyn,
Yes.
Nova Scotia. Maybe not a lot of people know where it is, but I go by that every day
Yes.
coming to the game. A beautiful part of the country. So
Yes.
So growing up in Brooklyn, what high school did you attend?
King's Edge School.
King Edge Hill School.
Yes.
So this playing here is also sort of like a throwback to
Yes,
coming
it
back.
is.
So what's your favorite memory of this field?
My favorite memory would have been this year winning our provincial championship right here, and I also got the winning try for that game.
Yeah, because the thing is that King's Edge Hill won 3 provincial championships in the last 4 years, and it stayed in the Western region because Horton won it just about a year ago.
Yes.
So so basically you've had Kinsey Chichetto as a coach, and also Rory Campbell. Talk about what you've learned from them that has helped you.
Everything I've learned from rugby has come from Rory Campbell and Kenzie. Kenzie was the best coach I could ever ask for. I play with her outside of school in club teams, and she just teaches me on and off the field. And she's an idol for me, so I look up to her.
Yeah, well, I've taken enough time, and the team's gone, so I better let you go catch up to the.
Okay.
Thanks for this.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
this.
Thank you.
Sierra Phillips, she got the try, and of course Nova Scotia got a little bit of insurance to come away with the victory over Team New Brunswick. So for the entire Maritime Athletic Profiles crew, along with my broadcast colleague Matt, my name's Ted Hobson. Thank you for tuning in, and so long from Windsor.